have been together for 2 amazing, delightful, all-around perfect years. He's a great guy. He's trustworthy, he's kind, and my God, is he adorable. And I know all of this now. However, at the time of this certain event, we had only been going out for about 3 months. He had left the room for just a moment and had conveniently left his phone sitting right next to me. So me being a curious girlfriend, nah, scratch that. My teenage insecurities kicked in. I picked up that phone and I started scrolling. I didn't have his PIN, so I didn't go all the way into his phone. I was simply scrolling through the notification center on the lock screen when something caught my eye. It was a message from Jessica. You want to know what that message said? Hey, you on your way yet? Winky face. You see, I am an extremely paranoid and pessimistic person, so the second I saw that, my brain automatically went to, he's cheating on me. So let's just say when he came back into the room, he was receiving one of my patented death glares. I held up the phone and accused him of cheating, only to watch his face morph from confusion to laughter. It was at that point in time when he informed me that Jessica was the owner of the flower shop I would be receiving flowers from the next day because it was my birthday. You could say I was feeling pretty darn stupid. I mean, I had just very rudely accused him of something that he didn't do. Similar to this, but obviously a lot more important, 10,000 people per year are accused and convicted of things that they didn't do. The more official term being wrongful conviction. So today, we will first go over the problems affecting our legal system and find out why some people are convicted of crimes they didn't commit. Then we will examine the causes of these problems before finally getting some solutions. So, let's first go over the problems with wrongful conviction. The main problem attributing to wrongful conviction today is plea bargaining. This is an arrangement between a prosecutor and a defendant, whereby the defendant pleads guilty to a lesser charge in exchange for a more lenient sentencing or an agreement to drop all other charges. This specifically requires the defendant to say they're guilty, and in some cases, they aren't. Such as in the case of Angela Garcia. She was only 24 when she was accused, convicted, and sent to prison for allegedly starting a fire that caused the deaths of her 2 little girls. And almost 2 decades after her sentencing and fighting for her innocence, she accepted a plea bargain. And she had to admit to arson and involuntary manslaughter. In Garcia's case, she knew that she had to admit her guilt, even if she knew it wasn't real, just to earn back that freedom. However, unlike her, most defendants are simply confused about the charges against them and take the plea to avoid going to a trial that could possibly uncover damning evidence or result in a greater sentencing. This advice is given to a defendant by their defense attorney whether they're innocent or not. So their case then becomes one of the 97% of cases to result in a plea bargain. This leads us to our second problem with wrongful conviction, psychological effects. In a 2003 study conducted by the Life After Exoneration program, researchers found that nearly half of the exonerees suffered from depression, anxiety, or some form of post-traumatic stress disorder. Also, according to Professor of Psychology John Wilson, people who are wrongfully convicted and innocent know they aren't criminals. They aren't psychopathic or sociopathic individuals. They know they're different, and in his experience, it makes it even more difficult for them to endure the traumas and stresses that come from imprisonment, and in turn, it damages their psyche even further. And then, when they get out of prison, they are presented with a whole other set of problems, one of them being how they are treated in terms of the public and employment. Wrongful conviction victim Kirk Bloodsworth stated that no matter what happens to you, you are constantly put under the eye of distrust. Neil Miller, another victim, stated that his wrongful conviction ruined both his marriage and his relationship with his daughter because prosecutors made him out to be a monster. And in the employment arena, employers are wary of hiring the wrongfully convicted, not only because of prison records, but also because most exonerees have very few job skills after spending so many years in prison. Also, according to author Sam Becker in 2017, if you have a criminal record, you cannot take a position in teaching, childcare, healthcare, law enforcement, finance, retail, or government. So, what are they supposed to do now? With these problems in mind, let's examine the causes of wrongful conviction, starting with the accusing side of the courtroom, prosecution. According to Carmen Naso, professor at Case Western Reserve University School of Law, prosecutors and detectives in some cases have tunnel vision, meaning that once they commit to a suspect and a theory of crime, it changes how they evaluate evidence, and they have a confirmation bias, making them think that everything that doesn't fit into that theory is wrong. This is often the case in convictions against minorities, and most are convicted on scant evidence and flawed forensics. For example, in Garcia's case, one of the major things that contributed to her wrongful conviction was the evidence of puddle patterns. However, when her case was reevaluated by the Ohio Public Defender's Wrongful Conviction Project, they stated that it lacked scientific validity. And even after this fact was proved, the prosecutor's office covered up their misconduct, like they do in many wrongful conviction cases, and blatantly hid the fact that the prosecutor's office had wrongfully convicted a woman of murdering her 2 children. This leads us to our third cause of wrongful conviction, false testimonies. According to the Innocence Project, false confessions and incriminating statements lead to wrongful convictions in approximately 25% of cases, such as in the case of Reuben Carter, a man convicted of a triple murder and placed behind bars for nearly 2 decades in 1967. However, years later, it was found that the 2 witnesses were petty criminals who received money in exchange for their testimony against him. Coercion like this happens in a majority of wrongful conviction cases, approximately 45%. Now, let's figure out some solutions. The first solution on our agenda today is time for defenders. The reason 97% of cases result in plea bargains is because defenders, mostly public defenders, are overloaded and overworked and aren't allotted enough time to thoroughly go through their client's case. This is largely because our legal system lacks the funding it requires to try most cases. So by implementing more government agencies that are willing to enhance civil legal aid, we can provide these defendants with the legal help and assistance that they desperately need. This leads us to our second solution for wrongful conviction, better education for defendants. You know how when police officers are making arrests, they're supposed to read off your Miranda rights? Well, I seriously doubt anyone who's getting arrested is paying attention to what the cop is rambling on about behind them. I know I wouldn't be. I'd be standing there getting cuffed like, oh my God, I'm getting arrested. Like, seriously. How hard would it be to do something as simple as type up a pamphlet to slide under cell doors, letting those defendants know that taking a plea bargain or doing something just as useless is not their only option. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, how does any of this apply to me? Well, it applies to you because your opinion matters. A huge deal with wrongful convictions is the fact that that defendant is convicted before they even walk into the courtroom, because people like you, me, judges, juries, prosecutors, all believe that because that person is in an orange jumpsuit, they did something wrong. It never occurs to us or others that the people we look up to, law enforcement, could have made a mistake. So the third solution I have for you is to follow the tale as old as time statement, innocent until proven guilty. So today, we first went over the problems affecting our legal system and found out why some people are convicted of crimes they didn't commit. Then we examined the causes of these problems before finally getting some solutions. I may have wrongfully convicted my boyfriend of cheating, but real people are being punished for seriously terrible crimes they didn't even commit. I rectified my accusation by becoming a more trusting girlfriend, and me and my extremely adorable man are happier than ever. If only our legal system worked as well as my relationship. Thank you.